that were submitted in the box earlier today. And the first one is there an easy way to determine what my stocking rate should be? Okay? Who wants to address that? Anybody?
Mr. Coleman take a shot at it. He can tell you about his stocking rate.
Well, I'd have to advocate that to my dad. He did the stocking rates. It's based on grazing units per acres of open grazing land. And the figures put in that I don't know off the top of my head. But that's how you kind of take your number of grazable acres, not your total acres, but your grazable acres, and then that will give you the quantity of cattle or sheep or whatever you want to graze on that property.
That's right.
So there's a lot of planning that goes into this, and those of you that enjoy making those plans on paper, while you're going to go to the science and they'll talk about a lot of variables, but this thing is a natural system, so it's always changing. And if you're not ready to change that written plan, you're going to get in trouble. So it's a flexibility factor that you better apply. And then follow your plan, but really you need to follow nature too. It's going to tell you every day what to do. So the stocking rate can be put on paper, and that's what it is. And if things change, you better change your stocking rate. But it's about the acres and the animal units that you put on those acres.
All right, well, not to make it too complicated, but let me add a level of complexity here. An acre of land in the Shenandoah Valley and an acre of land in Albemarle County may not give you the same thing in terms of productivity. And so if you look, or if you work with your extension agent, or if you are familiar with Web Soil Survey, it's a soil survey tool. Those tools give some indication of the productive potential of the land that you have. And it's, you know, just like Carl said, you're going to have to make adjustments, but that information will give you kind of a broad baseline for determining the productive potential. If you live in Highland County, you might get 150 frost-free days. If you live in Bedford County, you're going to get substantially more than that. And so then that's going to determine, you know, how many days you can graze, or the forage materials, you know, the productive capacity is affected not only by soils but also the environment too. So Web Soil Survey, the old soil survey books or whatever that you could get will give some sense of how many animal unit months your land could carry. And so you would want to take advantage of those tools if you're just getting started. You would want to take advantage of those tools to figure out how many animals you can carry. Carl and I have been involved with a group called Graze 300. Carl was looking at a producer's numbers. He destocked and was more profitable.
By 100 cows. He cut the population by 100 cows.
How many cows did he have,
So
Carl?
he had 250 that were losing $6,000 a year, and he cut it by 100. He made $36,000. But he was feeding hay for 60 days. The other end of it, he was feeding hay since Thanksgiving. But the no hay was half the profit. It made money, but it was half the most profitable option.
Right, so kind of the 300-day grazing program that we're involved with, kind of the idea is optimizing the system. It's not that feeding no hay is
1,000 cows, John.
1,000 cows.
1,000 cows, not in that system, but on the farm.
Yeah. Yeah, so the idea is that, you know, some hay feeding is not necessarily bad because it allows you to keep the stocking rate up to your optimal profit level. You could destock and never feed any hay, but you're not going to get as much income in that scenario. But if you're, you know, I had a lot of people say, well, I would really like to have 100 cows on this farm. 100 is just a number, right? Why do you need 100 or 60 or 253? Whatever that number is, a lot of people are shooting for some kind of imaginary target. You should be shooting for where your optimum management allows you for maximum profit and greatest environmental good.
And they're not making enough money, Mr. Coleman, and so we got to add cattle. We're not making enough with the ones we got. Let's get some more. What's that going to do? You're going to lose even more. You can cut population and net more. Believe me, there are several big examples, and this 1,000-cow example is a really good one. We're not talking about 25 cows, that's all I've got. Oh, you can do that with 25, says the big farmer. So, well, how about 1,000?
Well, I'll come at it from a simple standpoint. I'm a simple guy. In a ballpark, to put yourself in the ballpark of like John was talking about for improved management and minimizing any detrimental effects to your pasture system, you're probably looking at about 3 acres per cow-calf pair. Now, as John said, all soils are created differently, so if you've got more challenges with productivity of certain soil types or shallow to shale or whatever on your place, then it might be higher than that. But if you've got all deep, well-drained, fertile soil, you might edge that back down 2.5 acres per cow-calf pair or a little less. And all the time, you're going to be, what is your goal? Is it to graze 300 days a year? Or is it to graze,
5 years, or, because in Virginia, you can have 2 inches of rain this week and then it cuts off for the next 3. And you just can't predict those days. And it increases your plant health, so you stay a lot stronger throughout the time. I really don't have a figure to put on it.
So the cattle are real selective when you give them a choice, and so their performance goes up when you give them a choice. If you don't hold them, they'll eat what they want to eat, and they'll do better on it. So the performance per animal is better when they have a choice. When you don't give them a choice, which is you tell them what they're going to eat, and you decide how long they're going to stay there, you can carry more head. The carrying capacity goes up, but the performance per animal goes down. So pounds per acre will go up in production, but the individual performance will go down. I think the whole thing is driven by giving me a chance to accumulate grass and then use it when grass is expensive or feed's expensive, which is in the winter. So everything I do is driven by building surplus for the winter.
One thing I commonly see with producers who start off with us and make this transition to a managed grazing system is that 2 things are increasing. One, the grasses are growing back faster because they're not grazing into the ground and we've got leaf area there, so we get a quicker recovery time. The stand is thickening up. Okay, those 2 things are happening. So going from the overstocked continuous graze situation to a properly stocked rotational situation, I think we can easily increase 25% forage production, okay? And some of that comes from increased utilization of the forage. Because before we put in these subdivision fences and before we took good control, then the cattle were able to roam and just pick and choose what they wanted to. But most of that was within about 700 feet of the water source, the pond or the creek. And everything beyond that, or a lot of what was beyond that, a lot of times they never got to that. It got overgrown and unpalatable, so a lot of that was being wasted, okay? And obviously all this depends on your overall stocking rate and so forth, but there's some significant increases in plant productivity when you implement those basic principles. And over the first few years, you really see that. And as Carl said, for him, it's gotten to where he's decreased his feeding days by being able to stockpile and have some of that to graze over the winter, grazing in the system. Pino, would you share a little bit about how you all got started transitioning? I know you shared some of that this morning, but going from continuous to trying to manage grazing, how do you make that transition?
Well, we just kind of let the land tell us where to put the fences and use the topography and streams and water access. This property was initially bought based on the fact that every field in it had a running stream. At the time, it was always, flowing water. And then with hillsides and so forth, we kind of divided it up so that there wasn't fences straight up hills, so you got erosion. Fences kind of laid itself. Dad grew up in Southwest Virginia where erosion was a big deal. Hills were part of life. You learn how to work with them, which he brought that here. A lot of our fences are up the top of hills or running along a level crest. And then we kind of used that and got to herds where we could, go from each paddock. And as we decided not to say this field is for hay and hay only, that's kind of lending us into more rotation.
Say that again, that last sentence.
But,
Hay and
hay,
hay
they're
only.
not hay fields only, they're
Yeah.
dual purpose fields.
Because of that, you've got the land to graze, it includes your hay land. It's grazing land too, so you've got the land to graze more days, just change how you manage it.
And the second part of this question is who do I talk to about getting a grazing plan? I would suggest first start with your local conservationist at the NRCS office, and they can hook you up with we've got a grazing specialist that covers the region, and they can get you in contact with them if they're not comfortable writing the plan themselves. But basically they come out, do a field visit, try and get a real hold on your animal numbers, the acres of pasture, and they pull all the soils information together to look at the different productivity levels of the different soil types on your place, and they do a forage and livestock balance. And from there, they really get your goals as far as what level of management you're ready for, and they work a plan up like that.